The issue has been that people are saying that you can't get across the rail line. So we're saying if you can't get across it, you need to put a crossing over it. This is the old traditional side that we're on, and over the other side are other facilities and other services that people need to access, so that crossings across the line can be done very safely. To the business community, we're here to signal to the business community, I hope you're listening, Paul, that if you want to ask for funding for the community, you need to have something that will benefit the community rather than something that is destructive and destroying a good transport system that serves the community. So we're saying ask for, as you have before. I note that the Newcastle Alliance had a demonstration up at Steel Street a couple of years ago where they were asking for a crossing there. Well, we're asking for that one as well, and we're asking for one here too, because it's quite obvious the university building is going to be over there, we're told. One of the university campus buildings will be just over there. Imagine if the students can't get across the line. They also need the trains to come into Newcastle to go to their university campus here. We're saying it is not entirely the government's fault that there aren't crossings already put in, because we believe it's because the community of other places, the communities of places such as Berry, Unanderra, Richmond and Woonona have gained crossings recently. There's a document over there at the table that outline the four places that in the last 12 months have gained crossings over their line, pedestrian crossings such as we need here. Those communities have probably unified together to ask for those crossings. That's why they've achieved the funding to gain them. Here in Newcastle, we don't have that unity, and we're asking the business community to pull with us and get some funding for Newcastle.
Well, I'm here to actually do a special segment, Mythbusters. Now, there's a lot of myths about level crossings. One of the biggest myths that's perpetuated by people who are trying to cut the rail line is that there is a policy of no new level crossings in New South Wales. Well, Joan just told you that in the last financial year, 4 new level crossings were put in. 2 of them happened to be in the Ministry of Transport's electorate. 3 of them happened to be on lines that also carried freight, XPT and CountryLink services, as well as City Rail services. But the people who tell you that there is a policy of no new level crossings never seem to be able to produce the policy in writing. Well, that's it. That's the policy. And it's called the Policy for Installing, Relocating, Removing and Changing the Configuration of Level Crossings. It's funny to have a policy that has in its title installing if it's about no new level crossings. Is there anything within the document that actually prohibits level crossings? No. Now, I'll be specific. The policy does talk about trying to minimise level crossings, minimise the risks, and where possible removing them. But does it prohibit new crossings? Part 4.8, and it's important to put it in context, in some instances, community expectations with regard to access, the built environment and other factors, we're certainly in the built environment here, may compete with the policy to minimise the level crossings and grade separation and other alternatives at crossings. Part 4.10 then goes on to say, consequently, it is not practical to prohibit additional, relocated or significantly changed level crossings and must instead carefully evaluate proposals taking into account safety risk, financial risk and all other factors. There is nothing in this policy that prohibits new level crossings, and it says exactly the opposite. You can get them with a proper evaluation of risk and in the proper circumstances, and I would suggest that this is very much a proper circumstance with a university campus to go there, with workers and other people wanting to go there, and just an inability to walk from here to there to where the bus stops are. to where the pedestrian and cycleway access comes all in from the other suburbs. It's a simple request for the functioning of our city. But further to the policy. The HDC, in their reports, dismissed the notion of new crossings on the basis that there was a policy of no new level crossings. Yet in one of their reports, the Ministry of Transport puts up an option in the same reports where they're saying you can't have new level crossings because of this policy, this false policy of no new level crossings. The Ministry of Transport puts up an option which includes retaining the rail line to Newcastle along its current alignment, with improvements responding to urban growth, which include additional north-south at-grade pedestrian and vehicle crossings east of Stewart Avenue, where we are. HDC simply can't read what's in their own reports. How can you sit there and argue against level crossings and claim that there's a policy against level crossings when their own report provides an option from the Ministry of Transport which includes them? But this goes back further, because I can go right back to when the submissions were taken for the development of the city plan. And I've got a document here from Council, Tuesday 4th of September 2007, and in that they summarise the submissions received from a lot of different organisations. Now, one of those was from the Premier's Department. Now, if anybody knew about a policy of no new levels crossing, you might think the Premier's Department did. But did the Premier's Department point that out? No, they argue about whether we should have a new level crossing at Derby Street or Steel Street or Worth Place. What about the Ministry of Transport? Do they point it out? No, they actually sit there and suggest that developer contribution should be put to building new level crossings. But what about Railcorp? Well, Railcorp actually wrote enhanced or new rail corridor crossings or links are supported. But now we get to the crux of the matter. Well, why haven't they been built? Railcorp probably sums it up. Railcorp not in a position to fund projects outside the existing Railcorp project budget. Now we're going from Mythbusters, because I think we've busted this myth totally about a policy of no new level crossings. And we'll have a little bit of a trivia, and there is a prize. There is a prize. It's not much of a prize for a community organisation, but Railcorp is a government organisation. Who provides the funding for Railcorp? Anybody got an answer? Who decides the funding for Railcorp?
Labour Conservative.
Not taxpayers. Prompt. Who decides the budget?
Treasurer.
Members of Parliament. We've got a window there. You could say the Treasurer. You could say the Cabinet. Basically, it gets down to the politicians. The only reason Railcorp hasn't got the money to fund these new crossings is because the politicians haven't said, go and build the new crossings and here's the money in the budget to do it. That's the crux of the problem. No new level crossings policy is a myth. The fact is, and the simple fact is, it's up to the politicians to fund them. How do we get the politicians to do it? As a community, we put the pressure on them and say we want them, and we want them now, not yesterday, not a promise till after the next election. Get the money in the next budget and put these crossings in so this city can start to function properly. Thank you.